So today we are going to talk about how you are going to handle error handling at any application level. Meaning, let's say when you are accessing some web service, or when you are clicking for example, you are going in a website, you click some link, and by some reason there is a problem at the database level or server level. You don't know what the problem is. As an end user, you're just clicking on that link. So I should give you very decent message saying that system is not available or something like that. I cannot give you some ASCII characters when you're clicking on this link in case some problem is there. So that is called exception handling. In the Java terminology, it's an exception handling. So in a layman terminology, it is an error handling. So today we are going to talk about how we can do exception handling in a generic way when you are writing a web service and exposing to your customers. Let's see how it is now. So now here in the user controller, you already know about it. So what we are doing is request mapping get user. We are exposing the web service with get user details. So now, whatever the email ID that you pass to this web service may not be valid, may be valid. You never know. So when the email ID is not valid, what are you going to do? That's what we are going to talk about it. So when the user email and the email ID that is passed with web service is not valid, how are you going to respond from this web service? So now what we are doing here is email ID, we are calling the service implementation and then get user details. Now let's go there. So what based on the email ID, I am trying to fetch a record from the database in case the user is not available. That means user is null. So when the user is not null, that means user does not exist. What I am doing here is throw runtime exception, no user available. So when you do that, what happens is after implementing this kind of mechanism, any user calls the web service with invalid email ID will come into line number 38. Meaning it will throw an exception. How are we going to catch this exception and send a customized message to the end user who is calling this web service? So now let me first run this and then I can explain it. So this is nothing but called as a global exception handling at an application level. Okay, so now this is all done, and the server is up and service is available. Now I'm going and try here email. See that? What the hell? Yeah. So when I'm doing like this, user is not valid. First of all, I'm calling this web service. There are two mistakes. I'm calling the web service URL. This is nothing but the URL, complete URL of the web service. And the question mark is a separator between the URL and parameter that you pass to the URL. After the question mark, I am sending email. But the way we built the web service is email ID. No. Oh, this one I'm calling. Okay, I'll call this. I called the wrong URL. So here what I'm doing is get user detail and email XXY. So now if you see the log, I'm just clearing my terminal and run the URL again. Now, so here what happens is, first of all, email is not a valid parameter name and value also is not a valid value. So this combination, whenever you are invoking your web services with parameters, you need to do with question mark separate and then email. First one is parameter name equal to and XXY is a parameter. If you need to pass multiple parameters and values, you have to separate each parameter value combination with ampersand. Right now, our service does not take more than one parameter because if you see here, our service is taking only email ID as a parameter. Okay, so that's why I kept only one. Otherwise, in general, if you are handling with multiple parameters, let's say param1 equal to param1 value. So each parameter value combination can be separated by ampersand. So in our situation, the web service takes only one parameter. So now I'm doing email ID, for example. So here I'm calling email ID. And it comes here, it calls get user details. You can see here. Get user details. I'm open the log trace. That's right. Let's say I'm clearing the screen and running the web service, calling the web service again. Now, if you see here, you see the debug statements. Get user details from user controller, and get user details from service implementation, and fetch by property from generic DAO implementation. If you see the top 3 lines that are coming from our source code. So what did I do here? From user controller, log.debug, this statement. Don't worry about how the log will be generated. I'll give you a separate session around this. So when you see this line, that means the call is coming to here and executing get user details. There is nothing but user service implementation here. That's what we are going to call. So now here, email ID is we are giving XXX. Definitely doesn't have the XXX value. It comes here and throws, comes here. User is null. And it will throw a runtime exception. So now, whenever you get any kind of exception, I have mentioned a specific exception here. In general, any kind of exception happens across your services, not only one service. The exception can happen in any service at any given point of time with any combination of problems. Then how are you going to handle the situation? So that's the purpose. We have global exception handling mechanism. So how are you going to do that? So now I have created a new class, and here, this one is all you already know about at the REST controller. Additional, I have added controller advice. When a problem comes, it will come because of the controller advice. And then when it comes here, it will call this method because we are getting an exception. So exception, this line number 35 is very, very important. When, because of any reason, you get an exception of type class exception, this method will be executed. So now I'll comment this line. I made additional stuff. So now what happens is, because of the exception, it will come to the global exception, and forget about these two lines. I am practicing about that. So now it comes here, and written, we have encountered this line. Now, let's run this. I'm building the application again. Okay, so the build process is done. I am running the same URL. Oh, come on. So I think it is in cache. So you see a different message here. So what does it mean? When something goes wrong, it will come to a global exception handler, and because the exception comes as exception.class, it will come to executing this method and return this line as a string. That's why you're seeing we have encountered an unexpected problem. Now let's see a valid one. I think it might fail because my data structure might not be right. Still it failed. Though, I have having a valid GoVersion 1000gmail.com, it still failed because my data structure is old. Maybe I can correct that. Hold for a minute, guys.
Like because what command do you use to do that open resource?
Control-Shift-R.
Okay.
So you can, and then you can type in any file name, you will get it.
Okay.
Just bear with me a minute. Some of the columns I have added to the entity, but not added to the database. That's why I'm getting this problem. So created by. And then I need to add this column to on the okay, just here, one more minute, please.
So you are creating the database tables from Eclipse only?
Oh no, yeah, because I built the whole script separate. I mean the way I run the sh.upper.sh file, right? So that is something different. I built everything in a shell script, so I don't need to write execute multiple steps. Go to database, execute some query, come to the code, compile, and so there are several steps in the whole build process. So many developers usually do, they do each step manually. So what I don't recommend to run steps manually. Generally, I build my own script to execute everything in with one command.
Okay.
Okay, so now it's done. We'll see how that works. Still, it didn't work. The hell? No, this time there is no error. Let's see. There is no record is created. How? Why the record is not created? Something wrong with my code. I'll execute manually and see what is happening there. No, something wrong happened here. That's why it did not execute. Spring Boot now does not execute. Is this Spring Boot now? One, two, three, four. I did correct, right? Anything wrong in the SQL query?
The spelling of now, there is an extra O.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I correct in my source code also. So now the data record is inserted into the table. Yeah, you have the record in the table. Now come back and execute the same service. See that. So when we given a valid email ID, we are getting the data. When I am giving invalid, it gives me we have encountered an unexpected problem. So if something goes wrong in the system, you should not give a print stack phrase or ASCII stuff that the end users won't be able to understand. You need to give some decent message. What could be the problem about is action. So to do that, this is how you can handle global exception handling, something like this. Any questions? You're able to understand?
Sorry?
You guys are able to understand what I'm
Yeah.
If we want to display error messages differently for email, for name and all, we can do that.
Yeah, you can do that. I'll explain you. That is the next step. Okay. So a lot of going on. Who is that? Okay. So I'll explain you, Abhi, what could be, that is kind of a next level.
Okay.
I'll do that also. I mean, I've given you a basic concept how you generally handle a error handling mechanism.
Okay, sure.
So you're comfortable with what I explained you so far?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So now, to answer your question, we can do multiple errors and multiple error messages very differently. To do that, you need to have a property file. You might have used in your old project some property file and read through error messages, right? Did you use that, Abhi, in the previous your .NET project?
Sorry, I did not understand. What was it?
Did you use property file to handle error messages?
No.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So now, to give a customized messages, so what we need to do is, you need to have, we need to create a separate error message file, something like this, and, invalid user deal with something, and, give every key. I mean, your error handling scenarios might be very different. So when you are building a large-scale application, you might be ending up having different error messages, like 1,000 different error messages. So whatever I explained you so far will not work, because it will always send only one message saying that encountered a problem, which is not a scalable solution. So I will explain you tomorrow how you can handle different error handling scenarios. So I made up most of the code, but I can explain you tomorrow how you can handle the situation with multiple different error scenarios.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all for today. You guys have